Welcome, Darryl, to the best day of your life.
Oh, ready to go.
You look ready. You look fresh. Your skin looks healthy.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
soaking wet.
you look you look good, man. Looks like COVID's nowhere near you. Like you are the impenetrable immune system.
I thought I was.
You you are the definition of a healthy immune system. Just looking
Oh,
at you right now. Hey? You
hurting.
got you got that glow. Yeah.
I'm
You got
hurting.
that glow in your eyes.
Mr. TK,
Good
good
morning.
morning. Good
Welcome.
morning, Canada.
I
It's
think
like
I'm getting a connection, a stronger connection with my Canadian roots here in the comments. You know?
I'm definitely learning a lot more about Canada, that's for sure.
Yeah, we got a lot of people who are from different parts. Maybe they live in Ontario or they live in BC or they live in one of those larger population provinces, but they come from the other ones.
The other
There's
ones.
more than two provinces in Canada. There's more than British Columbia and Ontario in Canada. And this is all good news for everybody.
What's interesting is if you eliminate those two markets from the statistics, it paints a very, very, very different picture. A lot of things, not only those two, like if you eliminate Toronto and Vancouver, you can probably like start calling Canada pretty affordable.
I think the average person becomes a lot nicer too,
Mm.
right? Like I think the reputation we have in the world is because of the people from the prairies and the Maritimes traveling. And everyone's like, man, these Canadians are just great people. But the rest of us, they just mistake us for Americans.
A lot of people have been saying that like Canadians aren't the nicest people anymore, that
Probably
Americans
from
are much
Toronto and
nicer.
Vancouver.
Well, probably, yeah.
They're
Or
probably from
people.
Toronto and Vancouver.
I think more of them are people that moved from Alberta or Saskatchewan to Toronto or Vancouver. They started to realize, hang on a second, not
Life's not so good
everybody's
over
that
here.
nice.
Yeah, if I had to pay these prices and make those wages, I'd be pretty upset too. I'd be pretty miserable too. Telling all my European friends, don't move to Canada. This place is bogus. It's whack.
Well, a lot of people are coming here. Listen, if you came here 2 years ago, 3 years ago, with like high hopes and the market seemed maybe like you could afford it still. I mean, it was 100% less expensive 3 years ago, right? So if you came from wherever the hell you came here and you're like, oh, I'm so excited in 2 years, I'll have enough for a down payment and away we go. I'm going to own my first house and it won't be great. It'll be in Milton. It'll be $700,000, but I'll be happy. And now they're like, I got to move. I got to get out of Canada. This doesn't work anymore. Milton's 1.6 million. What the hell's going on? I can't afford to live here. I'm making 15 bucks an hour. I'm trying to get my whole family in here. And what? Now what? Now I can't even afford a down payment for a one bedroom condo
The government will help you with
in
that. Don't worry.
Newmarket.
Yeah, the government will help you. Let me give you some anecdotal stuff. Like, I'm always, long-term real estate growth. I don't believe that the Toronto market is ever going to be that uninteresting for people to get involved with. But just over the last, anyone who bought last year, I think is pretty safe from what I can see. But buying January, February, March this year came with a lot of risk. And I see that in any market, all over the place, whether it be, Ontario, BC, US, Caribbean, all the markets seem to have the exact same factor involved, which is now rates have gone up. Now rates have doubled essentially, right?
Yeah, and they're about to double again.
Well, that's the overnight rate, but even the 5-year fixed rate, you could get a 2% 5-year fixed mortgage. I don't know what was I thinking, not doing whatever I had to do to lock in at 1.99% 5-year fix when I had the chance, right? Like, the delusion of like, oh, rates are going to be low. Don't worry. Everything's fine. Like, what a crazy guy I am. Right.
Well, I mean, I think there's still a lot of people thinking that variable's still a smart move because even though, it may tick up for a bit, I think a lot of people, I think it's going to tick up and smash right back down because they're not going to let
Things are
this
going to get
thing.
bad.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not. They want it to calm down. They don't want to destroy it. There's nobody in this country with a vested interest in it falling apart and getting destroyed. Is
First time
there?
buyers.
Yeah, but
Small part of the population.
yeah, but
You
hold
guys got to
on.
vote more first time buyers. You got to have more political sway. You got to be able to, really force those politicians to do the things best for you.
Those first-time home buyers who want a market crash are not thinking things through completely because what happens when that market crashes like that? They're not getting any financing. They're at the bottom rung of the ladder. They're not getting financing because financing will dry up. And on top of that, they may not have jobs anymore, or they may not feel like they have job security anymore, right? There's going to
More
be blood in
importantly
the.
is the psychology. When the market's going down, those first time buyers say, it's not a good time to buy.
I'm going to wait
Right?
till
I'm going to wait
till it's
wait it out.
perfect.
Renting is better. Yeah,
The
I know.
bottom, the bottom.
It's a tough go. Anecdotally, just the last week, I've seen some pretty substantial price fluctuations, I'll say, because I am seeing some evidence of great pricing where I'm like, yeah, okay, that's consistent with the past. But I'm also seeing some places sit on the market that are not moving and are at prices that were not attainable at all in 2022.
Can we define sitting on the market?
Okay. A house in Scarborough where everything has been selling for 1.3 and above. Just last week had a sale at 1,085,000. Now, there was tenants in the property, so I said, tenants, access, mess, dirt, all the other stuff that comes along with that. So I figure that would have impacted pricing a fair bit. It was listed at 1,150,000. It sold for 1,085,000. But then there's one listed at 999 for 2 weeks now, and it says offers anytime. What does that mean, Darryl?
Well, it means a few things, but one of the things that it means is that the market is a little different right now and that pricing strategies that worked a couple of weeks ago aren't working anymore. And likely the market is softening or people are kind of standing back going, what the hell's going on right now? I don't know what to do. Should I wait? And then their realtors are probably not helping because God knows nobody knows what's going on. So it's just mass confusion. But what I'm asking, TK, sitting on the market, what is that? Like 5 days? And then everybody
twice as long as it took 2 weeks ago, Darryl.
Right?
It's
like
double the time on the market.
It's been sitting on the market for 8 days. No bites. What's going on? The market's, and then everybody's on their Twitter going, I'm noticing a big. I don't think people realize what causes the sentiment shift. Where do people get their sentiment from?
Twitter.
Right?
I'm not even on Twitter and I get influenced by Twitter.
You get
because people post little pictures of what people are saying on Twitter to Facebook and Instagram, which is where I am.
No, but it's Twitter and it's the news. And I mean, the news articles are like, I guess, are we going to wait for our guest or are we going to assume that we don't have a guest? Because this is a perfect segue into that federal budget that happened a few days ago.
Let's nail it then, because me and you are the show. Let's get into it. So
get into it.
What is Twitter saying, Darryl? What is Twitter saying?
I think the overall consensus on Twitter, well, I mean, you have the people that are in the real estate market that I believe the term was nothing burger, a big, giant nothing burger in here. But you see articles written praising the government for what they've done and these wonderful policies that are going to fix everything. And it's like, how does the media sleep? I can just picture the meeting. Okay, like we need an article that says how great the government is for this budget. Go. The most views wins. Right. And so you get all these idiots with these headlines and nobody even reads like the second paragraph anymore. And it's like, there are people that think that this was a budget well done, is the point I am trying to make in a very long-winded way. But it's not. It's horrible. It's pathetic.
A year too late.
A year
if
too
anything.
late. They could have done it 3 years ago. We wouldn't even noticed. Half the stuff still wouldn't be implemented if they announced this 3 years ago. Where do we start, TK? Where do we start? I'm in a really bad mood. I'm angry about this. They could have done something.
Let's talk about the most vulnerable part of the population, those first-time homebuyers. What type of bone are they getting thrown? They're getting thrown first-time homebuyer tax credits, because they haven't been on the upswing of the real estate market. They haven't been able to have the inflated asset and the equity built over the last few years, like everybody else has benefited from, by literally doing nothing, literally just saying, I don't want to be homeless. You made all this money, right? And first-time homebuyers were saying, well, I don't want to be homeless, but I'm either too young or too, I haven't developed my career yet, or whatever it is, right? So they got a doubling of the first-time homebuyer tax credit, and now they've got
40% of that population that doesn't own, right?
Sure, but not all those people will ever own. First-time homebuyers are people who currently don't, but are on their way to own, right?
No, they're not.
Some of them. They're not. Definition of first-time homebuyer is someone who actually buys. Okay, so whether they are able to do it now or not, they're on their route of their path of buying. So, Darryl, I agree with you. Many of them will never buy, but there's still a large majority of them who won't stop until they do. So, first-time homebuyers.
These poor, vulnerable.
They're now gonna have a like a TFSA type of account. Now, when I say now, I mean this is what's being proposed. It sounds like this should happen.
This one sounds like it's actually happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is brilliant, though. This one is brilliant, right?
Tell me why.
You don't think it's brilliant? Okay, so you're allowed to put in $8,000 tax-free per year for 5
up to 40,000. Yeah.
Up to 40,000, which takes how long? 5 years. Where the hell's the market going to be in 5 years when you got your $40,000 tax-free down?
But if you're 18 right now, maybe you're not ready, right? So maybe you're not ready. So you're going to get a tax break on that $8,000 a year, right? And then you get to take it out tax-free, and you can invest the money and stuff like that too, right? Get it into some sort of mutual fund or something, right? And it's costing taxpayers.
To help people buy a house.
It's only costing taxpayers $725 million from the loss in tax revenue. That was a good deal, Darryl.
That's brilliant.
It's a good deal.
It's brilliant. It's going to get tons of people in.
Yeah.
Tons of people are getting into the market because of this right here, guaranteed. You know who's going to use this? Like people that don't even need it. They could just use it.
Yeah, people are already going to be buying a house. You know, I'll give you a nice little story. My cousin, I was at my sister's wedding last night. So my cousin, his parents were there, my uncle and aunt, and they said their son's buying a house all on his own without the help of them. Okay, shout out to Eric. He lives in Ottawa, and they live in a small town outside of Ottawa, and he couldn't afford the small town outside of Ottawa. He had to go to the small town outside the small town outside of Ottawa, right?
Less impressive, Eric.
That's the reality. But he did it on his own, right? He did it on his own. He would be somebody who would have benefited from this because of, income and situation. He would have been, he's got to be mid-20s or something like that. He would have been somebody who would have benefited from this program.
They should have written him as the example.
The price point for him would have been 40,000 covered his, high ratio down payment, whatever his situation is, I don't know, but that would have covered a down payment on a house of his choice. He probably could have bought something for 400. That would have been 10% down or 5% down, and he's got all his closing costs. Boom. Now you bought a house.
But why make it over 5 years? How's that helping anybody?
Because of the exact
Who's waiting
situation,
5 more years?
Because of the situation you gave, which is if it only helps the people who are already going to buy. So if you got 40K and you're just like, hey, I'll take the tax break. Also, the tax break means that you're going to get taken down in your tax bracket so much that they probably did the math and said, whoa, if we jump people down 40K in 1 year, we're going to lose a lot more revenue than we would if we only take them down 8K a year, right? Because the tax brackets are bigger than that. So this is all methodical.
You think somebody like
government
put
is
this much thought into this?
the finance minister, who I think their job before the finance.
Wasn't she like the assistant gym teacher where
something like
Trudeau
that, right?
worked as the
right? So
as the drama teacher?
she went to the math teacher. All right. She went to the math teacher and said, hey, can you run a few numbers here? And they mostly talked about, the Raptors and what was going to happen in, the Montreal Canadiens season by the end of this year. And, the Calgary Flames, if they're ever going to win the cup. But in the end, they came up with this $8,000 spread.
I think if there was no NHL, we would know any other cities in Canada.
I don't know. I'll get back to you on that one.
I just thought of that.
Vancouver
okay, so what else
did
do
have
we have?
They did have the Grizzlies, right, in the NBA. So then the next thing, the big one that I want to talk about.
Well, there was also a first-time home buyers credit, isn't there?
Yeah, so it's a tax credit. That was just like a tax credit that they had for some closing costs that went from 5 to 10,000. Yeah, so it's just that would be on your tax return because you bought your first home that year.
Okay, more nothing, bro. I mean, they're not nothing. Look, there's nothing bad in here. They're just nothing good.
Just think about it this way too. The RSP option, which the RSP home buyers plan, the reason it's really good is because a lot of people get like employer contributions, they match and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of ways that force people to have money in their RSPs. So if they can use that home buyers plan, the $30,000, but they have to repay it over 15 years, it means that they might have money that they ordinarily wouldn't. This other program, it might be harder for people to save that $8,000 a year, but they don't have to repay it. Right. So there is like one type of person will still benefit from the home buyers plan through the RSP. Another type of person would benefit from this directly, who's a little bit more financially responsible.
So many benefits here. It's unbelievable.
Everyone's buying in Toronto next year because of this. Not true.
What else is there in here for first-time home buyers? Oh, what about the home buyer bill of rights? What do you think about that? I mean, it wasn't very detailed. I think maybe they're going to let people do a home inspection or something.
I think that's all smoke and mirrors. I think that's all just them talking about how to, make it a better, more transparent process and stuff. And with blind bidding and with cooling off periods, they just want to let people know that they're talking about it. But I don't see anything really concrete in any of that I was like, oh, that's gonna actually, one, that's gonna happen, or two, that's actually gonna change anything. I don't see any of those things.
It's pretty crazy that we don't have the right to make sure that the house is in the condition it's supposed to be in.
You had 15 minutes in the showing, Darryl. Like,
right?
Didn't you look? What were you worried about your furniture for? Like, why
I was looking at details
leaking?
In the second showing. After I went firm is when I was able to really focus. My second 15 minutes.
That's when I actually looked at the house.
Firm.
It was already firm deal.
Right? Like, oh, yeah, look at this. Well, I think something definitely has to change. All these firm offers is insane.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't even know anymore what the hell needs to change. But I can guarantee you that nothing in this is going to make a difference when it comes to, I think the problem is that people can't feel comfortable making the purchase and that they feel rushed and that they don't, it's like, it's a crazy way to purchase the most expensive thing you'll ever buy. Right. Like let's just take what happened to us. It was like, let's put in a bully offer. They're not accepting bully offers. Hey, we got to make an offer. They're accepting a bully offer.
Yeah.
Even in not the bully offer environment, it's like, you got to make a decision like right now because somebody else, and you see that line of cars and agents outside the house there, like somebody's taking today.
Turns out they were just like visiting the neighbor for like,
there was a barbecue or something. On the street.
But you got pressured, right? So I get it, and it's human emotion. And I think that's what the real estate market has been vastly fueled by is emotion, right? And unfortunately, it will continue to be. right? It will continue to be. It makes more sense in Saskatchewan. It makes way more sense, right? They kind of like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna take a couple weeks and think about it. Let's come and revisit the property. Why don't I bring my uncle? He's on vacation right now, but he should be back next month. Then let's take a walk through the property and we'll see what he thinks about it.
Not
That makes
only
more
that,
sense.
you know what? As much as I love that, you can make a fortune in real estate and like the action and the trade and the deals, like in Saskatchewan, as far as a living, like a home, right? Like you don't really need that appreciation. Like you just need a nice place that you can like hang your hat, raise your kids, go outside. You don't need it to turn into $3 million 2 years from now, So it's like,
Mhm.
I think the Saskatchewan market is like what we need to head towards, right? We're like a normal balanced market with plenty of inventory, realistic prices. It sounds
Mhm.
so nice and calm and beautiful. And it
Yeah.
makes sense here. Like what a nice thing for the, I forget his name, the Bald
Matthew.
Prairie,
Yeah.
Matthew, to sit there and go, I don't care if rates go up 3 points. Like it's only going to change my life by $1,000 a year or $2,000 a year. Like anybody can absorb that, right?
Yeah.
Here, it's like, oh man, like why'd I only lock in for 5 years? Or 3 years? What's gonna be at the end of my term? It's gonna be 18% or something like that.
Yeah. I get it. So, overall, the market here in Toronto, it's hard. Like we're invested in it, you and I. So it's hard for us to be like, this is, a good thing, that prices balance out or that the market changes. But in reality, it is. In reality, is the market needs to be a little bit more stable. We need to have a much smaller growth. Annually, we need to have a lot more inventory and supply. We need to have things slow down. We don't need government intervention. We don't need policies that are going to be like, this is the way everyone has to do it, or else, this is the repercussions. Everybody needs to feel that they are, being protected, and at the same time that they're getting, all the information that they need to make a really good financial decision. But at the same time, if they're not willing to pay those prices, somebody else will. And maybe that's a utopia. I don't know if that's ever going to exist or not, but I'm hoping it does.
Imagine going into a furniture store and like everybody was going bananas and everybody like had to have that sofa. And the
Okay.
sofa is like $1,000 and everybody's killing themselves over the sofa. And you got to leave the store because you're like, this was crazy. I don't need a sofa that bad. What the hell's going on? So you go to the next store and everybody's fighting over the goddamn sofa and you just want a sofa. And you hear that there's a store. It's 500 kilometers away, but nobody's fighting for sofas.
Mhm.
And they're like a tenth of the price. Why aren't more people moving to Saskatchewan and Manitoba and what else we got?
The
Yukon.
Maritimes,
The Maritimes are supposed to be
New
kind of
Brunswick,
nice.
Nova Scotia, Newfoundland.
Why is
I think
everybody
there's another
just
one.
coming here?
PEI.
There's a new
The
one.
dream, the dream of the life. Everyone wants to get into the market because they think, well, if I go and buy that property in the prairies, my life won't grow into what I've witnessed my parents' life grow into. That's what it is. Everyone
Mm.
looks and says, my parents bought their house for $200,000 in the 80s, and now it's worth over $1 million. That's what I want to happen. That's how I want to build my wealth. That's how I want to be able to get to the next stage in my life.
But
They
where are
look at
they
the house
saying
prices.
that?
They look at the house prices in Moncton, New Brunswick, and they say in the 80s they were 100 grand and now they're 300 grand. That's not the life I want. So they end up not actually looking for that lifestyle, right? They want to stay here in the Toronto. And is this even reality? Like,
Well,
is this even
that's
reality? Or is it just that one generation who got a benefit from that price increases? Is my house going to be worth the same that it is today in 30 years? And I'm going to say, oh, all right, here we go. Right.
but okay. So but that's only if you're from here or Vancouver or BC or another country that behaves like this. But like, I
Okay.
guess all these other, like even in the States, it's only a few markets that are bananas. The rest, like in Idaho and
They're
Kentucky and
all very like
Indiana, it's
simple.
like
Yeah.
normal. And so what the
Yeah.
fuck are we all doing? And then
We
you
all
got
want
to
to
make
be
all these stupid policies for 3 cities.
exactly. And how does that
It's
affect the small
crazy.
towns?
And then it
How does that
screws up all the small towns and all the businesses because Vancouver and Toronto are running away like crazy because everybody's bananas here. And it's not just the boomer generation. Like my generation did well from the housing market.
Mhm.
I don't, are we in the
Yeah,
same?
mine did too. I
What
mean,
are you?
anybody who's been in the market for, like we bought our house over 10 years ago, right? So,
Yeah.
that's the way it is. But how is it going to affect these other small towns? So this first time homebuyer stuff, I mean, that's really going to have an impact in other parts of Canada, not in Toronto,
Not in Toronto, but where do we
right?
want the impact? Who the hell's going everywhere else? They can
Yeah.
afford their stuff already on a minimum wage. So what the hell are we doing? Why aren't these
Yeah.
just targeted at the major cities?
Yeah. Because it's the federal
Crazy.
government getting involved. They're late to the party. So
Super
I don't know
late.
if you want to,
And
I don't know if
like
you want to talk
more
about,
stupid stuff. Like what about the flipper tax?
yes.
The flipper
So
tax. I'm pretty
what,
sure that there's
yeah.
always been a flipper tax. Like I
Yeah.
remember in 2006 or 7 when I built my first house and I had a primary residence and the word on the street was like you cannot flip a house or build a house and sell it if you have a primary residence. So you have to live in it before you sell it or you're not going to get the capital gain. I was like, okay,
Or
so
it'll be subject to capital gains. Yeah.
or whatever, yeah. And I remember taking in a sofa and like taking pictures with my wife and like acting like we lived in the house. So when we sold it, we could claim that we lived there. But this was
Yes.
like how
Tax
many
fraud.
years
Yeah. I know that
ago?
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I made it up. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure my mentor told me to do that. But regardless,
Yeah.
it was around in 2006. It was a concern. It was a flipping tax.
Yeah.
Is it
There's
not
still
the
the same thing
same?
today. There's still the exact same thing today. So why this is even being mentioned, it doesn't make sense to me. The big difference is whether it's considered, there's three. There's principal residence exemption. So you're going to pay no tax on the increase in value. Then you got capital gains tax, which right now you're paying, the 50% exemption. So you're going to have to pay tax on 50% of the increase. But then there's a third one, which is the worst one, and that is 100% income taxed, right? So now people look at the gains and they say, okay, I flipped a house, I made 100,000. It's no longer tax free. It's no longer just half of that becomes taxable. It's 100% of that tax becomes taxable, and that's when you start really affecting the market. That's when people really start getting, I don't even think anyone would ever actually pay this tax. I think most people will just find ways to avoid it, which includes not buying. That's one of them. Then it includes
Not
some
buying here.
investors saying,
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy. Well, yeah, exactly. But I'm not going to buy that flip or that investment property because I could end up having to pay tax on it.
I think a lot of these things, including this one, are helping like the longer term investors that want to buy the houses. Like they don't seem to be putting up any hurdles for them. So like where maybe a flipper would have bought this house, right? He's going to pass on it because he doesn't want to be in this business anymore because he's going to get taxed. But the investor goes, oh, I can fix that up and rent it out. It's a great deal.
Yeah.
Right. So all those dilapidated houses now, I think they just may have a different buyer because there's no
Housing
tax
providers.
implication, right?
Yeah, housing providers. I think long-term housing providers should have more. They already have a lot of tax breaks and incentives, but there should be even more,
Well,
right?
and even the foreign buyer ban, like
Yeah,
that's,
and the
I mean,
enemies
well, the enemy
or
buyer
the
ban,
enemies.
but
Yeah, how dare they buy our land?
everybody that knows it about the market seems to say that they're not a major factor. But whatever factor they are, I also think that they get absorbed, or the purchases that they may have made will get absorbed by the local investor.
Mhm.
Because again, there's no reason why a local guy can't buy that as an investment, right? There's no
Yeah.
tax to him. Like there's absolutely nothing slowing him down. And he can probably afford the monthly payments with the higher interest rate because he's probably got a lot of cash and he can just balance out the monthly payment, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of this is actually going to do the opposite of what they wanted and put more houses into the wrong people's hands, the investors that are driving up the prices and ruining the whole market.
Hmm. Yeah. I think the foreign buyer thing is, again, just another announcement for them to say, look, Canadians, we're behind you, and we're not going to let these foreigners come in here and buy up all our land.
Yeah, it's
And at
not
the end of the
happening.
day, there's no foreigners buying up all the land, everybody. It's not happening. There's no,
No,
the
not
foreigners aren't
anymore with
buying.
this tax.
They're not buying up neighborhoods. Like, they're actually bringing in, there's a ton of projects out there in the development world where are foreign backed, and that is creating housing and is actually helping keep prices down. And we need their money because sometimes they're willing to take on projects with lower returns or higher risks that local people aren't, right?
Right. Yeah, because they
So
have different incentives.
exactly, whatever those are, we
Yeah,
need them, we need them. But again, the government's just highly, highly, highly misdirected, in targeting investors and targeting foreign buyers. It's unfortunate. But
it's
let's talk
crazy.
about the big one. Let's talk about the big one, which will crush pre-construction condo market.
Oh, the assignments, the assignment tax.
Yeah. Think
You think
about it.
that's going to crush the market
I
there?
bought a condo for 100K down payment, 200K down payment, but I only have to put up 100K in the first 6 months. The rest I got to pay a year or two later. Market goes up 100K. I sell my condo as an assignment. I got 100% return. Great deal. Amazing. I'll do that all day long. I'm buying pieces of paper left, right, and center. Now it was $1 million condo, right? 200 grand total down payment. I only had to pay 100. That was my 20%. 100K went up 100, 1.1. I got to pay HST in Ontario on $1.1 million as
On
a
the
sale.
profit? No, on the profit or the fees?
Right now, you already have to pay it on the fees.
No, if you charge a fee for an assignment or you make a
Yeah,
profit on the assignment, that is the amount that they're adding
that's
HST
the
onto,
amount. Okay. So
which is
then that
still
becomes a little bit
something.
still. So now my profit's 100 grand and I have to pay $13,000 tax, right? So different performa at the end of the day you're looking at. You're saying, is this really going to be worth it for me or not? Right?
It definitely makes a difference, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's
The
killing any
other way
market.
I was thinking would crush the market with that
If it
much,
was
right?
on the sale
13% on the
price,
sale price. Yeah.
yeah, gone. There goes all the profit.
But what are you selling? What are your goods? Like, what are your goods that you're selling? The goods that you're selling is a piece of paper that is a right to a
It doesn't.
contract, which is $1 million.
I don't see why they like. I don't see what the problem is. What's the
Mhm.
difference?
What do you mean? What's the difference? Tell me.
Like, what's the difference if that's a thing or not a thing? Why is it a problem?
What's the problem? Like the
People
HST?
buying, people flipping the assignments. Why is it all of a sudden under attack? Why is it such a big issue?
Because they're exactly, good point, right? So I think that they're misdirected and they're enemies. The enemies are investors and foreigners. That's what this is what this says to me.
No, I could be wrong. I mean, a lot of people have a different opinion. I just don't understand. I mean, it, well, maybe people do realize, maybe they don't. I don't know. But like when you have to sell 65% of your building to get to the next stage, I mean, you are asking people to come up with creative ways to get there when they need to. Right? Because who the hell
Yep.
wants to wait till they're at 65%? Why? I don't know. The whole thing is just such a mess and it's so broken. And then the solutions don't fix. They just move things over a little, or like it's just going to break other things. Some of these solutions like the bank tax too. It's like,
Tax the banks. They're
but
the enemies. They're making too
weren't,
much money.
weren't they the reason why we were so strong coming out of the financial crisis in 2008, 2009? Like, wasn't it because our Canadian banks did such a great job? We were like, so strong. Now we're going to tax those guys. Now we're going to what? And what happens when you tax the banks? Do they just suck it up and just take less profits?
Sorry, Gerald, I had to look this up. Imposing GST, HST on all assignment sales effective May 7th, 2022. The tax will be applied to the purchase amount
No.
net of the initial deposit.
Purchase
So if my purchase amount's $1
amount
million condo, and I
less
put
the
$100,000 initial, so the tax is on the 900K, man. That's a big difference. Imposing GST, HST on all assignment sales effective May 7th, 2022. The tax will be applied to the purchase amount net of the initial deposit.
Net of the initial deposit.
Mhm.
So the
So they're not
price
taxing the money
less
that
the
you've already put
deposit.
in, but they're taxing the value of that piece of paper, right? It's $1 million.
Really?
Yeah, crazy, right?
But that
Think
doesn't
about
even
that.
make sense. Businesses don't get taxed on their revenue. They get taxed on their income, on
But
their
you're selling a piece
profit.
of paper, the value of the good. It's goods and services
No.
tax.
Where are you seeing
Crazy.
this?
The
Where'd you
internet.
look this
The
up?
internet.
I don't think that's right. How can you tax somebody on the purchase price?
That's what they do. They tax land transfer taxes on the purchase price, HSTs on the purchase price for new condos, commissions on the
Yeah, but there
purchase
isn't a
price.
purchase.
There's purchase of a piece of paper. Right. So again, just one of those little things that is absolutely 100% misdirected at the wrong group of people. There should never have to be any concerns. And this is the most important thing that I could possibly take out of all this is that they didn't need to do anything. The rise in interest rates and the fatigue in the market and all that kind of stuff was changing everything as we were coming into the month of March. We already saw huge decrease in number of showings, huge decrease in the number of offers, increase in number of the inventory in every market in Canada. It was the same thing that we were witnessing. And the government took a year and a half to come up with all these policies that make no sense, targeting people who aren't the villains. And now you're looking at double trouble here. You've got, rising interest rates, and you've got now a mass exodus in the market because there's going to be people who want to sell, and there's going to be people who are too afraid to buy. And there's definitely changes in the market, and I felt it more this past week than I have up until this point. Right? Condos were still doing okay. Condos are still doing okay.
Condos were strong, yeah.
We're strong in the month of March. There's no signs of weakness, but now I'm going to an appointment tonight at Markham and 401 where, there's like 4 identical units now all for sale. And no, they're not sitting on the market. It's only 1 day here and 4 days there and all that kind of stuff. But that's a lot of competition where that didn't exist 2 weeks ago. They told me to come in 2 weeks ago, and I looked up everything, and the last sale was high and it was good, and they would have been pretty happy with the results. And I think everyone saw those results, tried to get the same results, didn't get it. One guy got much less a few days ago or something like that. And now there's a few of them on the market. So they're all going to be trying to target that price. And the last guy didn't get it. So most likely these guys won't. And it'll be interesting to see what happens, right? How people are going to be able to work that. Right. And their units that are tenanted too, which is investors scared trying to get out, right? My unit's going to be coming up vacant at the end of the month, where other people are saying, oh my gosh, I'm tenanted and I got a lease till whatever. You need to assume my tenants and buy this unit, and hoping to get an investor to come in, right? But I don't know if investors are the ones to sell these units to. I think it's an end user. It's a 1+ den, 2 bathroom. Den can be used as a second bedroom. Somebody who's looking for a place to live. This will be a nice affordable place between, 650, 700, maybe 650.
There's still such a thing.
Yeah, it's about $1,000 a square foot, maybe a little bit less, 950 resale with parking and a locker.
Wow, $1,000 a square. Where was this?
Markham and Ellesmere.
$1,000 a foot. $1,000 a foot resale.
Resale, yeah.
There.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable that I am still alive at this
Yes,
point.
I'm very happy to see you today. I tried to call you the other day, but I know that you were under the weather.
I am.
It's better than under the bus.
I'd rather be under the bus right now.
Under the bus?
I tell you. Oh, I have a fever again.
Yeah.
I'm
You're looking
dying.
healthy. You're looking flush.
I'm
You
very
look like you're ready
flush.
to go. Yeah.
I'm
Just
ready
stay
to
home
go
for
somewhere.
another few more days. So now we talk about the one that's all BS again, which is, the government trying to get involved in the development world, the government trying to step in on zoning bylaws and approving projects and fast tracking to more supply. What are we looking at, Darryl?
We
How is it
are looking at, I don't know, there's so many things that could actually work. That whole
housing accelerator fund?
uh,
100,000 new units over the next 5 years?
yeah, okay.
No, it's accelerated housing and it's a fund and there's $4 billion dedicated. When they say dedicated, it doesn't mean spent.
No, it just means like we're gonna put it on a spreadsheet, see what happens.
It just says, you know what, that money that we're going to get from the banks, we're going to dedicate that to this housing accelerator fund. We may not spend it, we may not use it, it may never get done, but it will be dedicated. And then we'll make sure that from here on out, when that fund needs to be accelerated for housing, that $4 billion will have an asterisk next to it that says this funds. Now, we may not hold on to the $4 billion. We may have to borrow that from years coming up here. We might have to steal it from those budgets. We can't really guarantee how that $4 billion is going to come about, or if we can manage it properly so that it's actually there when we need it. But it'll be dedicated, and dedications are important. Those are commitments.
Sorry, we dedicated that in 2022. That's not valid anymore. That was only dedicated. We're not so like dedicated anymore. Yeah.
We'd like to undedicate the $4 billion in 2030 right to no longer accelerate the housing fund. It's too much. There's too much. We're going to have to.
That the whole housing is
to pay for
load of malarkey. Just a big load of malarkey.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they just adopt some of the things in that task force plan that they came up with a million ideas that were
the letter? Great. You mean the letter or the provincial one?
The provincial one.
Oh, the provincial one. That's different, right?
But that was great. There was like 40 things in there that actually would have done something. Why don't we do one of them? One. What
we should do is hold the like you only get elected if you don't you have to set a list of things. Here's some politics nonsense. You set a list of things that you're going to do, right? And then you go and you get elected, right? Now everyone's like, all right, Doug Ford's got his list of things to do. If you do not complete those items, if you do not complete the things on your list, you no longer are eligible for re-election, and automatically another party will be elected and it'll become like a less than however many parties we have that are in the election. So now the Liberals can't win again because they did not complete what they promised at election.
That should go down through like the ridings and the provincials and all that stuff. It's like you don't get to the next level unless you kept all the promises you made at the last level.
Don't make promises you can't keep because you will not be reelected.
Sorry, we didn't get to check off this box. I don't care. I don't care.
You're going to run a surplus in the budget. You said that the deficit was going to get down to 10 billion a year. You said that we weren't going to increase the deficit. You said that you were going to provide X, and you didn't. You can no longer be elected. Think about that.
It would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. We should get a politician on the show and figure out why what we're talking about it won't work.
It won't.
I'll talk to Jagme. I'll send him a message. Okay, Darryl, your opinion, because some of the things you and I were talking about recently is you said a lot of deals were coming across your desk. There's a lot of projects and land development and sites that are.
Yeah, and then they dried up.
Oh.
Which is weird. Or maybe I dried up over the last week. Maybe that's it.
Maybe you just stopped becoming laser focused on development sites.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
You're not seeing a concern there.
Well, what concerns me is that they're coming to me. Like, I'm no big player. You don't come to me first. You don't come to me third. You probably don't even come to me 10th. If you come to me, which means everybody else must have passed, and they brought it to me.
Yeah.
And then there was an assignment from a pretty well-known developer that, he was willing to assign a deal to me that I thought was kind of weird, which made me a little concerned.
Right. Right. So you don't want to do this. You don't want to make $100 million on this project.
It's always funny too, because generally the reason is they just needed to free up cash for a better deal. Like, well, that That's
I'd like the
convincing.
better deal.
Yeah.
Do you think I can, can you assign me the better deal?
Hold on. So
Yeah.
this is the worst deal.
All right. So, Darryl, this has been, I think, one of our best shows in a long time. You know why?
Because I was
Not
very
because-
quiet.
Not because of how you're feeling,
I couldn't get any words out.
Because you and I gotta catch up a little bit here. So we're back on track. We've got lots of good guests lined up for the next month or two, all over the country, Canadian real estate specialists. And I know people appreciate that. So, I mean, if anybody's watching still, we really want to get those Apple podcast reviews up. That's something that we hope that we can get a few more reviews on. Like, comment, and subscribe to this video through YouTube. Check us out on Spotify. Share it, tell your friends. We're super happy and super grateful that everybody's tuning in all the time. And yeah, we definitely love to talk to you guys in the comments. So even if you just want to say, thumbs up, we appreciate that. And don't forget to smash that like button.
Comments.